Well, Winwood, Oklahoma's where we meet our Tiger King. He's got them monkey chimps and tiger cubs, the cutest thing you've seen. He's got all his meth head buddies, and they're all working for free, serving cheap Totino's pizza covered in rotten Walmart meat. Then, of course, there's old Doc Antle. The Tigers made him rich. And don't forget about Carol Baskins. Man, we fucking hate that bitch. We got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail.
Well, hey, here we are. We're back, Tiger by the Tail, the continuing saga from Well Read, where we go in on all things tigers and tiger people, and specifically Tiger King on Netflix. We hit you a little preamble last week, but now we're going to dive into it in earnest. Can't believe there wasn't a guy named Ernest in this entire series, but there weirdly was not. But with that said, Joe, take it away, baby.
So first off, we have one of the best cold opens in a documentary that I've ever seen in my entire life. We open with a character who we're not yet introduced to. It's just this chubby kind of like either wants to be a country club guy or used to be a country club guy, and then he got a divorce and he can't be at the country club anymore. Fat shit, wearing a polo 2 sizes too small, long hair, shaved face, none of that matches. He looks like he could be a Van Zant, but one of the cousins they don't fucking talk to anymore. We open with him saying something that I found to be true, but at first I didn't know anything about this, but it piqued my interest. He says, and I quote, "Monkey people are a bit different. They are kind of strange, but the big cat people are backstabbing pieces of shit."
Okay, so, all right. It's so funny because I know that we all kind of independently had the same thought about this, which means it was a very strong choice on the director's part. But I thought the same thing. By the time I watched this, I had heard so much about how great this was, how wild it was. And it was one of those deals for me, honestly. And I get this way, where like when I hear just everybody hyping the fuck out of one particular thing, part of my brain just automatically goes like, okay, I bet it does hit, but there's no way that it can live up to the level of hype that I'm hearing for this. And that's kind of how I felt about Tiger King, honestly. But this one scene, as like insignificant as it may seem, kind of made that all entirely evaporate for me. Just the way he said it, because there's a pause in between. He's like, the monkey people are wild. He's like, but the big cat people, they're backstabbing pieces of shit.
And he says it so matter-of-factly. Like, I mean, everybody fucking knows this. Big cat people are fucking huge pieces of shit.
And so this guy, you're talking about how it looks like, dude, tell me right now, and I'm going to make this, I don't know how well this going to work, but we're going to see. Tell me right now, for those of y'all that are actually watching, this is the dude over here that we're talking about. Does he not look like he literally was drawn by Mike Judge? Like in real life,
he looks like
a Mike Judge cartoon character in real life. Like that's what he looks
Bobby
like.
went out for football, and that's his offensive line coach in middle school, and he takes it way too seriously.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
So that's how this documentary opens immediately, and I'm like, all right, I've seen the trailers, I've seen it's going to be about this Joe Exotic dude. I'm at this point still thinking this is going to be some honey boo boo shit, but then we hear a call that has been placed inside of a prison, and there has allegedly been a murder for hire. So immediately it's like, oh shit, all right, it's monkeys, it's zoos, but there's a fucking murder or some shit like that. They cut back to it. They don't let you see exactly what's going on. It's a little tease. Again, we still haven't been introduced to all these people. And then we're told a chilling fact, in my opinion, that there are more tigers held captive in the United States than there are in the wild throughout the rest of the world. Did that fuck you up, or had you known that?
I personally had heard I knew it was something insane like that, and more so that like that's how few tigers there are in the wild. But no, it's absolutely fucking crazy. But I want to ask you this though about the murder for hire. Did any part of you, when it first brought up that there was a murder for hire on the horizon, did any part of you think like that it was going to be a murder by animals, like the murder. I was like, I don't know how he hired a tiger to kill somebody, but that's what I'm expecting. Like I literally was expecting,
bruh. There was an alleged murder in this documentary later on down the line that might have been related to tigers.
To me, it's like that's how insane this thing is off the bat. Is that like that's where my brain genuinely went to, like immediately. As soon as this is all set up, and they said that, I was like, oh, he murdered somebody with animals. That's where this is going.
I went to monkey, not because I feel like you could, like, if you just set someone loose, the tiger gonna do its thing. But like especially if you've had a monkey for a while, like depending on how long you've had the monkey and how y'all's relationship was, you could probably like talk a monkey into doing it later. Like not just like stick a monkey loose on somebody, like, convince, like plot. I feel like you could plot with a monkey. So like,
monkey hitman.
Yeah. Like, so my brain kind of immediately went there. Another thing that's fucking insane about this is that like the documentary that we got was not even the documentary that they were setting out to make in the first place. Like this all started, right. that Richard Feller tells us, it started with the investigation of a notorious reptile dealer in South Florida, and they find there's a goddamn snow leopard in his van. And so they're like, wait a minute, what the fuck?
Dude,
how is there
imagine being a documentarian and deciding you're going to make a documentary about a notorious reptile dealer in Florida, and then ultimately not even fucking with that dude at all, because you just fall bass backwards into fucking tiger mania. Like, it's insane.
No, that's the craziest part, because like I'd totally forgotten all about that when I went to do the rewatch. I was like, oh yeah, they was going to fucking talk. Yeah, they were supposed to talk to a by their own admission, notorious reptile dealer, and we ended up not getting even remotely that. Which at this point is when we are introduced to the man of the hour, the man of all the hours, Joe Exotic. We see Joe coming out the gate wearing leather tassels and a knee brace, holding 2 tiger cubs and sporting the most glorious mullet I've ever seen, claiming that he himself has 187 big cats.
Is this when I know sometime early in his introduction, they show him sitting there and they're like, yeah, we think about taking the hat off. And he's like,
it's immediate.
No. He's like, you don't want me to take the hat off. Because if I take the hat off, everybody's going to be like, wow, that guy's got a mullet. Is that not a weird thing for this particular character to say, in y'all's opinion?
Yeah.
Like, does he seem to give a fuck about anything the entire rest of the time? And also, you got the mullet, dog.
Well, also, yeah, right. So a couple things, and this is, I feel like I'm definitely the one who can speak the most about like not taking a hat off for something.
Agreed.
But like God has done this to me. Like, as you said, this motherfucker chose not only to have a mullet, but to have a goddamn bleached blonde mullet. Also, furthermore, every single other decision that he has made, whether it be fashion or lifestyle in general, screams, hey, guess what kind of haircut I've got?
I know.
And so like I don't know, man. And plus, it was like the hat he was wearing was a goddamn greasy ass fucking fishing hat with a fish hook on it. Like, again, brother, we know you got a mullet, and like if you got a mullet, yeah, like you said though too, it's like what? Why the fuck does he?
It was blonde with the jet black roots. I wonder if maybe he just hadn't gotten his hair did recently.
I mean,
that's the whole thing. Right. And then also, I will say, it seemed like that was truly when he first sat down with them, and. You can say what you want about Joe Exotic. He's nothing if not self-aware.
Oh, very.
He may have been a little self-conscious about, I'm sitting down with this documentary. I'm a lot in my life because I'm an entertainer. He thinks he's a country music star. So there goes my self-awareness argument a little bit out the window. But he also knows that he is essentially a circus performer at his zoo. And so he might have been a little bit like, look, I got my stage persona on right now. You got me on this couch. I just met you. And obviously, all that dissipated within 20 minutes.
Right. I mean, I like your first theory. I like that he just knew that it wasn't up to his mullet standard. It's not that he had the mullet. It's that, like, my mullet ain't where I want it to be right now, and
Right.
thus I'm gonna need the hat on for that reason.
I mean, it honest to God fucking has to be that. Because if he never takes the hat off, why is he getting it cut into a goddamn mullet? It don't make sense.
Yeah.
Joe, at this point, this is one of my favorite things, which actually backs up what you were saying, Drew, about he's definitely a circus performer, but he's super self-aware. He says, says, does it feel good to stand on stage with 500-pound tigers and have everyone envy you? Absolutely. I'd be the biggest liar if I said no. and it just cracked me that just cracked me the fuck up because, like, I mean, I've seen tiger shows and shit like that, but like never once was I like, God damn, I wish I could be that guy. I'm just like, man, the fucking tigers are cool.
I'm glad I don't have to be that guy.
Yeah, like there seems to be this like underlying sense of all these tiger people that they are just like the fucking apple of everyone's eye. Everyone's jealous. Everyone wants to fucking be them. And it's like, no, dude, it's just that tigers are hits.
Well, that's the thing. And this is as opportune time to bring this up as any, because it comes up again. It's one of the central themes of this whole thing. The effect that these fucking animals, these big cats in particular, the effect they have on a certain type of person is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like, he truly believes that. And there's multiple points where people say some shit like, look, I know it seems like it didn't hit, but I'll tell you why it did hit. There was tigers there. And that's like what it all comes down to. It's like, are y'all not hearing me? I had tigers around. And they can't understand why other people would be like, yeah, that also don't hit, man. Like, they could eat you. Like that don't hit to just have a tiger around. Like if a tiger, like you said, like, no, I don't envy that guy. Yes, tigers are rad as hell, but like, dude, if I see a guy standing on a stage with 2 full-grown tigers beside him, the last place I want to be is next to that guy, because like they're fucking, they eat you. They eat people. Like it don't like you. It's just, you have to be some form of lunatic. You got to be some type of crazy.
And on that note, like, I've never seen anybody with tigers on stage and not knew in my heart how much work, time, effort, money they had put into just being able to be a dude on stage with a tiger. And like, I don't envy that as someone who put a lot of effort into being a clown. And that's the other thing. Like we meet people after shows. 1 out of 10 people very much wants to be us. They try to pitch us jokes and they're fucking annoying. It's like, just go do it yourself if you want to do it. But I'm aware that most people are grateful that they don't need validation in the form of laughter every 30 seconds. And we don't even have nothing beside us that's going to eat us.
Right. I think that most people that envy, that are jealous of us on stage, are jealous of these, the stereotypical, they sleep till 5, they don't do shit, they just go up there and blah, 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 blah. The average person, I mean, I won't say the average person thinks that, but then there's the person who, no, I fucking couldn't do it. I've got fear of speaking in public, yada, yada, yada. But like, yeah, like you said, like we just go up there and start, and we do our act. Like we don't have to fucking, even if you weren't the one that fed the tiger, and even if you weren't I don't know, man, like it's just so funny. He's just sitting there like, I'm the fucking envy of man.
He 100% absolutely believes and feels that way too. And he's not at all.
That's just narcissism, right?
I don't know. It's like this. Okay. I don't want to go too deep into this, but y'all heard about that thing, that virus or like something that's in like cat
coronavirus
that they theorize gets inside like that ladyism is an actual disease. It's a parasite.
I don't want to get too far into it either, but yeah, it's a parasite that supposedly convinces you, it gets into your brain and convinces you to get more cats because that's that's the only place it can raise its family.
Right, exactly. And it comes from cat poop, and being around cat poop gets it in your brain. You're like, I need more cats. I can't, what am I going to do if I ain't got more cats?
Think about that.
It's actually an actual like physical thing in your brain that's doing that. And I kind of think like tigers got that too, but just even wilder because they got bigger, wilder cats. Like, I don't know, man.
I didn't mean to sit here with my fucking jaw on the floor the whole time you were saying that, but I've never heard that, and that sounds like the fucking outsider shit. Like that is terrifying. Like
it's a real thing, man.
I know you said you don't want to dive too much into it, and honestly I don't know what more you could say other than what you just said. But like, I mean, kind of now that you've said that, like, why the fuck wouldn't that be this? Like that of course that makes sense. Like that they're the same as, I mean, they're cats. They just big ass motherfucking cats. But like, fucking, what is there other shit that it does that with? Or is it just cats?
I doubt that they have the same parasite. There's other shit that does that, but not with humans. Like, there's plenty of parasite examples in nature of them brain controlling another animal to get what they need. This is the only one I know of that does it to us.
Well, is the theory though that like it's the cats that's doing this?
It's a parasite that lives in cat shit.
Yeah.
That can get into the brain of a human being and wire their brain such that they physically need the presence of cats. And then you get more cats and they have more cat shit and more parasites. And the theory that's like that's what cat ladies are. It's a parasite in their brain. I don't know how like well founded this is, but I do know that it's a real like thing that you can look up and read about that, you know, is pretty wild. And Drew, I mean, you probably right, that probably ain't how poop diseases work. I don't know a lot about them, but I just know that like big cat tigers are just big ass cats. Why is it not just big ass parasites in your brain?
Yeah, their parasites even bigger because they poop bigger.
These motherfuckers are crazy for tigers. That's all I know. Not one person on this show got just one tiger. I don't think nobody ever just got just one tiger. As soon as you get one tiger, next thing you know, you got 187 tigers, as far as I can tell.
I agree with that.
No, I agree with that. I think that's tigers is like that old saying about driving a Rolls Royce, where it's like if you drive your own Rolls Royce, then you can't afford to actually have a Rolls Royce. It's like that with tigers. If you only got one tiger, you don't get to have tigers. Like you got to have tigers, like a bunch of fucking tigers. Which a lot of the characters on this show started learning to love tigers just straight up through this Joe Exotic motherfucker. One of which is probably my favorite character, and in my opinion, when this is we'll get into it, but like he's a pretty redeemable dude in my opinion. There ends up not being a lot of this, but we see Eric Cowie. If you don't remember Eric is the Joe Dirt looking motherfucker that shows up at the beginning. He is Joe's head keeper, has been for a while. He shows up to let us know that before he started working for Joe, he was at the end of his rope. Before he met Joe Exotic, he didn't know what the fuck else he was going to do, and he found this. He found this job on
wrangler.
Yeah, and bro, he found this goddamn job on Craigslist. Like the amount of vetting that goes into being the head keeper at the GW Exotic Zoo.
So
didn't he say too? I thought, well, I'd never done that before.
Yes, right. That's what I was about to say. I don't know if Corey has this in his notes.
No, I do.
You are introduced to the head zookeeper, and he says something to the effect.
He says this. I'll tell you exactly what he says. He says, he said, he goes, I seen this job on Craigslist, and I was like, man, I ain't ever done this shit before. What the fuck? Let's go. And now look at me. I'm doing tiger shows. And he fucking he turns to the cow, like, look at me. I'm doing tiger shows. And again, he says that with the confidence of someone who is like, y'all know that doing tiger shows is the fucking peak of human existence. If you're doing tiger shows, you're the shit. All girls want to fuck you and all dudes want to be you. And like, again, like it just exudes from them. These are the most confident motherfuckers. It's fucking crazy.
Well, Joe told him that. I mean, that's a very cult-like move.
Yeah.
There's a lot, when you...
I don't know. I think the tigers tell them that.
That's fair. That's fair. But I'm saying that's like that's a very common move when you want your group to have real strong group, pride or whatever, is you tell them we're the shit and they ain't shit. I mean, that's what rappers do. Joe Exotic ain't nothing if not someone who reminds me of a No Limit Soldier.
Right. Okay. But here's the thing, like, and I know I just said I don't envy the guy on stage with the tigers because tigers will eat you, and that's true. I don't envy them, but like, and yes, I'm trash. I got a lot of white trash blood. All of it is white trash. All my blood, but like, I mean, it is pretty rad. I don't want to be the guy who's up there with this like apex predator who could eat your face off in a heartbeat if it wanted to, because I'm not a lunatic. But like, I mean, I got to give it up to the motherfucker that's standing up there with the tigers. Do you know what I mean? Because I mean, that's pretty hard, dog.
It's
Like,
super.
I get
right.
that.
You right. And also, did he work his way up, or did he just come out the gate the head zookeeper?
Man, all I know is they introduced him as the head keeper, and his whole thing was like, fucking, we gonna do YOLO. That was like, and that was how. I mean, another way I look at it is if that dude is advertising his jobs on Craigslist, why wouldn't he just, bump this dude immediately up? I don't know, man. His whole process, like, we'll get
Well, I
into
was just
it.
asking because
I could see Cowie working his way up because, like you said, without getting ahead of ourselves or spoiling anything, Cowie's a redeemable motherfucker, man. He's got I could see Cowie just getting on board there and ended up working his way up to head keeper because I think Cowie gives a shit, man. Cowie cared.
I also think Cowie gives a shit, and like Cowie has one of my favorite qualities in a human being, which is like when presented with a challenge, it's just like, well, shit. I mean, fuck.
Right. And if he worked his way
literally
up,
his philosophy. Well, shit. I mean, fuck. God damn.
If he worked his way up, it would also, I think, though, explain his pride a little bit more. Was sort of my theory that I was working on there. If he worked his way up, that sort of explains why he's like, look at me now, because I was a fucking dipshit and now I'm a boss.
I'm doing tiger shows, so we see Eric, and like, I would say at this point, I haven't time stamped it or nothing, but I would say at this point, we are probably like 7 minutes into this goddamn documentary, maybe. And I'm already going like, wow, this is way more insane than I thought it was going to be. And I'm only 7 minutes in. And now we see that Joe Exotic is a goddamn country music singer.
Dude. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't even know what to say about it, because it's almost like because part of your brain is like, of course he does this,
right,
and then the other part of your brain is like, there's no way he really does. It's one of those things where it's like that cliche about like if you tried to write it, no one would let you, because they would be like, that is too much, man. Like, you can't.
That's back. Yeah, that's what I was. I mean, I'll name drop for a second. Me and Frank Mir, two-time UFC world heavyweight champ, still holds the record for most wins by submission. Me and Frank were talking about this the other day, which Frank, born and raised in Vegas, knows a good bit about tigers. Frank said that we were talking about it, and another thing Frank said, because I said, man, it seems to be that like these dudes, like if you got a tiger. Like women are just like very attracted to the whole having a tiger thing. And Frank was sitting there smoking a cigar out by his pool in Vegas, was like, no, the girls are attracted to people who can afford a fucking tiger. And I was like, oh, right. That's a good cause. Like, yeah, he's like, they'd rather him not be there. So anyways, we were discussing it, and he said that he goes, man, you just can't write this shit. And I told Frank, I was like, man, I'll be honest with you. Usually I'm offended by that. Not completely offended by that phrase, but anytime someone says that phrase, I immediately think of like Lord of the Rings and fucking,
Eastbound and Down.
Or Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, all these crazy, insane things that people wrote. So like, yeah, you can write stuff. But with this, I told him, I was like, but Frank, I actually think you're right, because there's so much stuff in this that I've tried to write similar crazy things in my, like in my line of work, and it always gets passed back as like, no, this is too fucking crazy. And I'm like, but it's real.
And we don't even, we've had that happen to us collectively as a group, had people tell us like that's too much. That's whatever. And in our heads we're like, no, it's not. It's
happened
real.
2 days ago.
we had that pilot in which like a version of my sister mixed with Drew's wife was a character, and we had gotten some notes to that effect about some of her lines. And then we had shows in Nashville at Zany's, and my sister hung out for multiple days, and we were all like, "Dude, honestly, if anything, we have dialed her back
a lot,
we like, yeah." And they still were like, "Oh, that's too much." So there's definitely some truth to that whole "you couldn't write it" thing, and it's not because of how an audience is going to respond. It's because of people going to refusing to believe it or whatever.
Right, because when you start looking at a dude like Joe Exotic, you're like, as if owning a bunch of tigers and lions didn't keep you busy enough for the day. You throw on he's a country music star, and then you're like, God damn, he must have his hands full. And then what's this? He also hosts a nightly internet show. A nightly internet. Go ahead, Drew.
Well, I hate to invoke Donald Trump, and the reason I hate to invoke Donald Trump is everyone's sick of him, and the reason everyone's sick of him, a big part of it is there's no angle to wrap your head around that guy. I think Joe is a narcissist who also happens to have a flamboyant personality. Not all narcissists have flamboyant personalities, but when you get that perfect fucking mix of this dude had some money enough to afford tigers, he is very consumed with himself and his world. I mean, he becomes obsessed with Carol Baskins on his nightly internet show because she is not allowing him to be the master of his universe. And as far as, can you write that? It's like, it's so divorced from the way a normal human being is, that I think the feedback you're getting is like, well, this is not believable because this isn't how humans act.
Right.
Because we don't have the energy, money, time, effort, whatever it is to own tigers and go on the road and try to plot someone's murder via my internet show and make country music records. But like this dude is fueled by like a fucking personality disorder and, had some money. And, here we are talking about him. So that's the other thing, like if you try to tell a narcissist that ain't the way to go, they want fame. My man got it.
Well, and since you've already brought up Carol Baskin and him talking shit about her on his nightly internet show, which it's reported was only ever watched by maybe 80 people at a time, which just kind of totally checks out with this dude that, like, most people would only ever, like, most normal human beings, like, it's not abnormal to do a radio show or an internet show from your house every night if it's like successful and people are watching it and, doing stuff with it. But like, you're doing it consistently and only for 80 people. That is a very specific type of goddamn lunatic, I think. And mostly the content comes from bashing, who Drew brought up, Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin is the founder and CEO of Big Cat Rescue, which is the world's largest accredited sanctuary, which I think is an important note. There might be a larger sanctuary out there, but it's not accredited. And she has devoted her she's devoted her life entirely to cats. And I wanted to get to this point when you guys were talking. I didn't want to get ahead of ourselves. When you were talking about that cat shit thing, dude, she's 100% got that. There is no doubt in my fucking mind.
She's a cat lady.
Because like she talks about how like she was born that way. She basically talks about loving cats the same way people talk about loving dicks. Like she was like, I was born that way. The first ever picture of me was me with a cat, and I didn't have any friends when I was a kid. As soon as she says that, you're like, yeah, no shit. And she's like,
I'm trying to imagine somebody saying the first picture of me when I was born was with a dick.
But she says that her imaginary friends when she was a kid was 2 cats, which is like, if you're imagining it, you could have just had real friends, but like, that's whatever. Then she starts, she hates Joe. He hates her because she's this animal rights lady, which you kind of think, I don't know, it's bizarre, but her whole thing is that big cats don't belong in cages. She shows up wearing the flower child hat with her fucking gray teeth and shit, talking about how she's been finger banging herself to felines her whole goddamn life. And now she's talking about how cats don't belong in cages. And then we get down and see her in her place in Tampa. And if you can believe it, her cats are in fucking cages.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And Carol is one of the principal characters in this whole story. This is her introduction, but she is throughout, and it gets way crazier with her. And I don't want to I don't want to jump ahead, but as far as this part goes, I very much thought, and I'm all did too. I'm sure most people thought, but like from the moment it introduced her and set all this up that you just described, Corey, like from the jump, I in my head was immediately like, why? How is this? Why are you different? You know, like I didn't understand from the get go why she was supposedly so much different from the rest of these motherfuckers. You know, like is that?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like not off the jump. The only like, especially because it's not like Joe didn't act like he didn't love the fucking Tigers and shit like that. But like to me, it was like I don't know. It just seemed and it gets even weirder. But like her whole thing with it seems like so analogous to like fucking gun ownership and shit, where she's just like, well, I'm responsible with my Tigers. And my life.
I'm a responsible tiger owner.
Dude, that not how she fucking is? Like she
no,
literally like
right.
because she talks about like hers are in cages, but she's like, well, I mean, they have to be there because like they wouldn't be there if I didn't get them from people who shouldn't have had them in the fucking first place. Like,
right. Katie was saying, and Katie is not a fucking, my wife is not a Carol Baskin apologist, but in this first episode, we were talking about this, and she was saying like, yeah, but it's a sanctuary and it's different because they don't breed them. They get tigers from other places that they can't release into the wild. So they got to go somewhere or else you got to euthanize them. So they go in a sanctuary. And so that makes it a little bit different. And I do understand the basic logic of that. But at the end of the day, it's like, you still get to be the only one who has tigers. Do you know what I mean? Like you still get to have your tigers and have people pay to come look at the motherfucking tigers. You've just set up this like logic basis that allows you to be the only one who can do this.
You could lobby to make it to where they gotta own tigers the way you want to own tigers.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't have to say and take their tigers. Like you can just be like, you know what I mean? Like it's again, going back to the gun thing.
Like
instead of saying take their guns, just be like make them register their guns. You know,
right.
To me, she reminded me of like bullshit ass, like fake woke white liberals. You know, who are like always trying to protect somebody, but like then they cross the street if they see a black man.
Yeah,
right.
Well, she goes on to say, she says, people like Joe Exotic, what they are doing is breeding cats for life in cages. A tiger needs 400 square miles of territory in the wild, so there is no cage that's going to be sufficient. But the reason, because she pauses for a very pregnant pause, but the reason we have cats in cages is to provide them a safe place to live until they die.
Well, yeah, her logic, the basis of her logic made sense. Like Trae said, it was these other people invented cats in cages. They started it. Rather than euthanize them, I give them a good home. But then, and I don't want to get too far ahead, when you find more out about the home and how she's making money off of it, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like you're trying to quote unquote save cats, but like, well, again, I don't want to get too far out of episode 1.
Well, I mean, though, but like if... Like, first off, yeah, she's making money. She's also not paying her goddamn employees anything. Like, she's got
that's what I was saying. Okay, that's
right.
what I didn't want to get too far ahead on. But now that it's out of the bag, like, you are so full of shit if you're getting rich off your fucking quote-unquote life's mission to save cats.
Well, and also, if she thinks that cats living in cages, like, they there's no way that they can have a good life in a cage. And she's like, well, but I get them and I care about just then. Honestly, by her logic, euthanizing them would be more fucking civil. That's how I feel.
And also, like, we're talking about making the money, and I'm not 100% on this part. Haven't researched it, but should have. But I think there's a caveat to it either way. Isn't Big Cat Rescue isn't it a nonprofit or whatever? But either way, the thing is, she is still very much benefiting from. She gets to be the hero amongst she gets to be a big cat person while also, because she's independently wealthy for reasons we will get into later. Yeah. So she's got money, and so she gets to have the other things she gives a shit about, tigers, and fame and attention and reputation and all of that. So it's like, even if it is a nonprofit and the organization itself isn't like making her more money, like it still, the point still stands either way, in my opinion. You know, like
Right.
she's still getting the shit she wants out of it.
She also is allergic to cats, which I thought was interesting.
Is that true? I saw somebody say something about that, and I thought it was a joke.
Well, she
No,
says
she
it.
said that.
She says it, but I just feel like there's no goddamn way that it can be true just because, like, I don't see her sneezing ever. She's around these motherfuckers all the time. I don't know. That seems like a very uncomfortable. That's weird. Like, I'm not saying that if I was allergic to something, that means that I would hate it. I just would choose to, I don't know, focus on dog rescue or some shit like that. That just really didn't make any goddamn sense.
Unless
to
you
me.
had parasite brain. I will go
Yeah,
ahead
that's what I'm
and
saying.
say right now that I'm not gonna in the end be like, if we're doing a Team Joe, Team Carol thing, for the first time maybe in my life, I'm gonna go down the middle. But I'll go from the jump, and this is how I felt watching it. From almost moment one, I was like, man, fuck her.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I don't think you have to be team one or the other. They both just don't hit in their own ways. But I also, yes, from the minute she came up, like I said, immediately I was like, well, wait, how is she different though? And and then it only gets worse as far as she's concerned from there.
Well,
it's one of those American lessons. If you're going to be a total narcissistic megalomaniac dickhead, it helps to be cool and a man, to be fair. But more than that, it helps to be fucking rad. And Joe was rad, at least.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, just up until this point, like, if it all stopped here where we're talking about, the reason that I'm going to have to lean towards Team Joe is because right now they basically are guilty of both doing the exact same thing, except for she is also guilty of blatant and extreme hypocrisy. So, like, that tips the scales to me a little bit. Like, at least he ain't on some fucking bullshit like she is. My opinion. I mean, he's certainly on some bullshit, but not like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Like he's on. That motherfucker.
Joe
That motherfucker
Exotic is very much
stayed.
on some bullshit.
He's
also
on
better.
some bullshit.
He's also better at hiding his hypocrisy. There's things that are very hypocritic about his life that he knows to hide that we don't find out.
Yeah, but no, you're 100% correct. What he does, we go straight from Carol's, and now we're back at Joe's exotic animal park, where he's letting us into his gift shop, where he sells things such as honey, barbecue sauce, steak sauce, face cream, sex gel, his and hers, by the way. That's very important. But his number one seller, of course, is his tiger print underwear. Joe does not wear underwear. He's been on the cover of Hollywood Magazine twice, and his first album is called I Saw a Tiger. So this is all the stuff that Joe does choose to share with us. We're then introduced to one of the biggest breakout characters, I'd say, of the show, Joe Finlay, which was Joe's husband from 2003 to 2000.
I thought it was John Finlay.
You're right, it is John Finlay. It's John Finlay from 2003 to 2013. He was married with Joe, and he claims that Joe taught him how big his heart was and how much to care.
All right.
And him and his fucked up teeth do all the interviews shirtless.
What I wanted to say about that, and in the preamble, I said they did a good job, and I didn't feel like it was coached. But I guarantee you that they either told him to take his shirt off, or he had his shirt off because he was doing something, and then when the interview started, he was like, "Let me get my shirt," and they were like, "Well, if you don't want to wear it, we'd be fine with that as filmmakers."
Well, this has actually been said since the documentary. He has come out and said that they told him to take his shirt off.
Okay. And I totally believe that. And dude, they almost had to have, because like that's another running theme throughout this thing is how casually insane the settings of the interviews are. And like, dude, almost all of them. Like even Joe at his most like basic interview that he has, he still is holding a baby tiger with a fucking, with his mullet and looking like a lunatic and everything. And then you got characters literally in a junkyard doing an interview. Like people everybody. Okay. there's a detective at one point who's just presented as a detective.
Yeah.
And in apparently his house where he's being interviewed, he has a goddamn monkey butler end table and an orgasmic lion coffee table. He's like, he's just a regular cop. Like everybody in it it's like I said, it's so casually insane. And frankly, that's a testament to the filmmaker, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
He found a tone and he followed it throughout the whole thing. Man.
I'm not disagreeing with it being a testament to how good he is, but I do think it goes against a little bit. It's like we were saying in the preamble that this is either stupidity or lunacy porn. It is porn. Like, it's just really, really well done. I mean, look at me right now. Far be it from me to claim that a redneck wouldn't be shirtless because a camera was on him, but he set stuff up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Here's what I'll say about that. As far as like, especially this dude in particular, you're 100% right. And apparently the guys come out and verified that the directors set it up. But like, dog, this motherfucker, he a shirtless, toothless motherfucker. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? In his day-to-day life. Like it's not unrepresentative of this man.
I mean, he almost had a full shirt tattooed on his goddamn body. You don't do that unless you want a motherfucker to see it. I realize that sounds like victim blaming, but still.
I guarantee you that's how they talked him into it. They were just like, look, we want to be able to see all the tattoos.
I bet they just said, take your fucking shirt off.
I'm with Corey. Tattoo. They didn't have to talk him into that shit. Not that hard anyway.
He's got a tiger tattoo.
Leave your shirt off, that would hit. He's like, yeah, it would hit. And that was it.
He's got a tiger tattoo and another tattoo over his dick that says property of Joe Exotic.
At this point, yes, that is correct. He does. We find out a little bit more about Joe's background. I mean, we already knew. This is when they tell us that Joe is gay, but like, come on. I know it's like not right for, people always say it's like when you come out, your friends shouldn't say like, yeah, we know. Like it's apparently a rude thing. But like in this situation, it's like, yeah, we know. So Joe is gay, and he knew when he was 13 that he was gay. And when he told his father this, his father made him shake his hand in front of his mom and promise not to come to his funeral.
Yeah, and then right after that, according to Joe, he drives his truck off a bridge.
He drove his truck off a bridge and spent 5 years in braces.
And that, like, dude,
that'll make you want to get some tigers.
Man. People are complicated, because like this, like Joe is fucking. He is what he is, but also like, I'm inclined to believe at least a version of that happened, and it's like, man, that's fucking that. That's a goddamn shame.
That don't hit.
Well, again, I go back to this question of like, how comfortable am I with this being the most famous, Southern or Southern adjacent thing going on right now? It was done well. I mean, he did tell at least part of the backstory. You know what I mean? He didn't just present this guy and be like, yeah, that's how they end up here in Oklahoma. He like explained how it happened a little.
Right.
Yeah, here is why this dude the way he is. He drives off. He drives his car off a bridge. He's in braces for 5 years. He did his physical therapy in Florida, I assume, because at that time that's just where all the pills were. And so does his physical therapy.
Forgot everything. I forgot about this story is wild.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He did his physical therapy in Florida, where his neighbor was the manager of the Lion Country Safari and would often bring baby lions and monkeys home to bottle feed, which is where Joe found his love for animals. So,
dude, I get that. You know what I mean? Like that part of that, I get that, dog. Like
I do too.
You've been through this. You're a gay man in Oklahoma decades ago. You've been ostracized by your father. You went through some shit that led to culminating you driving off a goddamn bridge and like very terribly injuring yourself. And then during the rehab, you happen to cross paths with a guy who brings around baby lions and monkeys that you bottle feed while you're recuperating from this incident. And it's like, the shit is coming together.
No,
you know what I mean?
And if you think about the two things Florida could give a man in his situation, as he rehabbed, pills and crazy ass animals. My man brought the right one back to Oklahoma with him.
Yeah. You're right. He went to the right place for sure.
I was about to say, like, this has never happened to me, so I guess I technically can't tell you how I'd feel about it. However, if I was on a bunch of pills and I got to bottle feed a monkey, I'd be different.
Right.
And I'd be different forever. Like, not just for a little bit. Like, that would be a life-changing experience for me.
I can't believe you ain't ever done pills and bottle fed a monkey.
I know.
What about tiny horse?
I can't believe I've not done one of the two at different. I mean, I've done pills, obviously, a lot. But like,
you ever let a tiny horse snort sugar while you was snorting a Percocet?
No, but like, I mean, I'm all about. I want to fucking bottle feed some baby animals now. Like, as when they babies, they cool. I mean, they're cool as adults, but like, I
hand fed a baby giraffe in South Africa one time. And started crying and started thinking about moving there. Like, it'll get in your blood. And I just remembered that.
I thought giraffes didn't hit for you.
Giraffes hit for me. Bulls, as you're thinking of.
I thought giraffes also didn't hit for you.
And that also it comes up more prominently later. But yes, when it comes to the envy thing, the whole everybody envies me because I'm up here with these grown tigers. We're like, no, we don't, because they will murder.
Right.
But the babies though, I mean, dude, anybody, yes, it's wrong. It's fucked up to breed tigers to exploit their babies for that reason, obviously.
100%.
But any human being that tries to front like they don't want to bottle feed a goddamn baby tiger is full of shit. Like, of course I want to do that. That would hit so hard. That don't make it right.
No, I'm with you on that. So now we jump over to one of the I mean, it's a staple in the redneck community. It's a staple in the of a redneck destination. We are now in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, a place that I am famously not welcome in anymore. And we meet Dr. I was calling him Baklava earlier, but it's not. It's Dr. Bhagavan Antle, which there's just no way that's his Christian name, but we don't ever find out what his real one is. We meet Dr. Bhagavan Antle, and we see him talking about his grandfather guru. And I'm really gonna try to get this right. His grandfather guru, Swami Satchidananda.
Yeah, Satchidananda.
Who is a bearded Indian with a line that is painted on velvet in his living room. So here's a guy who is like, again, he's from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So like he's firmly, now for those of you listening, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is the South like Times Square is New York. It's fucking not. Like Myrtle Beach is a tourist destination. It's one of the reasons that I didn't like doing shows there is because you couldn't ever get, like there was no culture. Like, it's just everybody at the show. Like, some people from Boston, some people are from fucking Panama. So, like, it kind of makes sense that even though this dude's from South Carolina, he's not really the Southern type. He kind of has, like, this
I thought he just ended up in South Carolina anyway.
He did. I think he stayed in Connecticut for a while. I don't think this part has come up quite yet. But, like, he's got this – he looks a whole shit ton like
Dr. Phil.
He does look like Dr. Phil. He also looks like the lead singer in Newgrass Revival from back in the day, John Cowan. He's got a John Cowan-y thing going on.
He looks like Meatloaf's stuntman too.
Yeah, he does. He looks like, I don't know, man. He definitely has big orgy vibes right off the jump. Like before you even.
And I didn't know that immediately, but liked him immediately. So I think you're right.
Yeah.
And by the way, anyone out there listening, I have since scaled all of that back. I think he is the most talented narcissistic asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's better at what they all do than all of them.
Well,
objectively, he's Hollywood. You know what I mean? He provided.
He beat Carol.
Yeah, no, you're right. He's the best at the type of crazy that they all are. He's the most adept.
Yeah, dude, he comes out the gate riding a motherfucking elephant named Bubbles, who he'd had.
It's so hard not to like this for me, man.
No,
like
I mean,
you find out all the sinister shit that built his world, but I loved his world, man.
No, at the jump, I mean, I like this dude too, because especially now I'm like, all right, surely we're about to see the opposite side of this. Like, I've seen the shitty ones, and now we're going to get into like, this is the good dude. You know, we find out this dude, like he runs the rare species fund. He comes in riding on a fucking elephant. And then we jump into a little bit of his psyche, and we start seeing that paranoid tenor that kind of just permeates through the tiger community in these people, which is we hear him saying, I am so well known as a big cat guy around the world. The people who are against having relationships with animals, period, want to destroy me because I am out there in the forefront, so known of being this guy that is in love with big cats and has them love him back. He screams that directly into the camera. Bhagavan thanks. First off, this thing. I'm so well known as a big cat guy around the world. The people who are against having a relationship with animals, period, want to destroy me.
Okay, but two things. You're right completely, first of all. But man, at that time, I was like, yeah, that's everything he says sounds like the truth to me. Look at his ponytail. And also, Corey, like, let's say it this way. Who else was in the Britney Spears music video? Who else works on Dr. Doolittle's 1 and 2? Like, he is, man, other than Siegfried and Roy, I think he's the most famous tiger guy.
I think that was all true in its own way. That shit that he said. Like, he's not known by the general public as a big cat guy, but amongst the entire spectrum of people who know about big cat guys,
they're all on the spectrum.
He is known around the world as a big cat guy, and I think they do want to destroy him.
Actually, you know what?
But Corey, but you're right, Corey, because like that came not from a place of truth. That came from his own narcissism, and we would see later insanity.
Yeah, I guess he's obviously speaking of like when he says that he means in the big cat community.
Well, it's the Kanye thing where sometimes delusional, insane people make it, but it don't mean they're not delusional and insane.
Right.
I mean, again, I don't want to bring up Trump.
Yeah.
And for the record, as you said, like, Doc was definitely the best at what he did. Like, literally, the reason that we found out about this guy so quick is because Joe sent his crew to the Myrtle Beach place to, like, spy on him, like, go through his whole process, because Joe himself wanted to emulate it, because this dude was the creme de la creme. He's got his fucking compound. He's got like all these hoes living with him. Like we don't meet him by name yet, but like you can definitely get a sense of like, man, it's a bunch of hoes.
Yeah, now we'll save the hoe discussion till they dive into it. But yeah, all these hoes.
He also says
I could dedicate a whole manifesto to what
he says something. He says something that I wanted to specifically talk to Drew about and get your take on this. And I didn't even know that this is what this was called until now. Dr. Annell's place in Myrtle Beach, the starting price is $339. That's your starting base. It ain't never going to be less than that. However, some days it can be as much as $655 because they use dynamic pricing like they do in the fucking airlines. Like they price their shit exactly how Delta does their shit.
Oh, for what? Like, for what? Like,
you get to touch more stuff and you get to do more stuff.
No, it's their dynamic pricing is like it. Like, you know how sometimes a flight from Atlanta to LA is one thing one day, and it's he says it depending on how many people are coming in on a given day, his price is flexible that way.
But
like it's like
just
seasonal.
An entry, a ticket to get into his kingdom and check it out is what we're talking.
Yeah.
But it's essentially just seasonal and weekend prices is all he's saying. It's like it depends on who's trying to get in that weekend. I mean, that's like shitty, you know, people trying to extract as much money as they can, but that's just how places like Myrtle Beach work. I mean, the hotels there are way cheaper in fucking November than they are when it's spring break.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
How any capitalism works. You know what I mean? Like,
I just didn't expect capitalism from Dr. Bhagavan Antle, I guess. Fuck me.
Buddy, he excels at it.
No, I know. No,
at it. That's why he's so good at what he does.
Right.
No.
He's playing all the angles. And then the other thing, I thought dynamic pricing had more to do with like, and I'm curious, maybe he just upsold people. Wouldn't you have to pay more to pet a cub than to just be there? I mean
you would think.
Joe said he made at one point. Joe said he made all his money from cub pettings.
Yeah, he said that from the time they're 2 weeks old to the time they're 12 weeks old, you could profit $100,000 off of them just by fucking cub petting. And Dr. Bhagavan Antle, as much of a capitalist he is, he definitely doesn't cut corners when it comes to feeding his tigers. He says, this is great, Doc says that it takes a minimum of $10,000 a year to feed one single tiger, whereas our buddy Joe Exotic says, fuck that shit. I can do it for $3,000. Not even half.
Because he's getting that Walmart truck, man. You never had meat that fell off a truck. Uncle Mark used to always get us meat that fell off a truck.
Exactly. Because at this point now, Joe has over 227 tigers, and he's getting food from feedlots who give him 5 to 7 cows a day. He's got game wardens calling him with fucking roadkill and shit like that. He claims that he would need 30 cows a day if he only used cows, which I got my calculator out. That would be fucking 10,950 cows a year is the amount of food that needs to go through the GW Exotic Zoo in order just to keep his motherfucking tigers up.
Now, on that note, in terms of the future and Carol Baskin and all this other stuff, and this is not beyond, I'm not going to do another episode. I'm just thinking outside of the documentary. We don't want tigers to be endangered in the wild, of course, but it does seem like there don't need to be overall that many of them.
Right.
Yeah. You're talking about the environmental impact.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe that the documentary didn't make more of a no pun intended meal out of that part of it. And I mean, hell, I get why they had plenty to work with, but like,
sure.
I know that I'm aware of the argument about eating meat as a human being and how bad it is for the environment because of just methane and all the other shit that fucks the environment up that comes from the like mainstream processing of beef and stuff like that. And for all that, for those numbers like that Corey just said, to be going to a goddamn tiger show in Oklahoma.
Just in Oklahoma. That's just one fucking dude in Oklahoma.
That's crazy. Like, I can't, it's wild to me that as soon as they even alluded to that, to the level of meat that they have to feed them, I very much expected that to become a big, like, thread in the thing of, like, look at their carbon footprint or whatever, like that type of thing. But it never really did. But again, I get it. They had plenty of shit to cover without that. But
dude, they made a really good executive decision to be like, everybody knows enough about that queer shit. Let's get back to it.
Right. Yeah, that don't hit. You know what does hit?
I'll tell you what does hit. This dude who has a tattoo of his dead brother on his arm who got killed by a drunk semi-truck driver. So that is something that Joe explains to us. Joe has this was him and his brother's dream. All right. This was him and his brother's dream.
That's who GW is in the GW Zoo, right?
This was him and his brother's dream. And once his brother it was so funny because he said, I mean, it's not funny. Like, nobody dying is funny, but like, he goes, my brother got killed in a drunk driving accident, and then come to find out the drunk driver was driving a goddamn semi truck. Good Lord. So he gets smooshed by a fucking semi truck, and Joe Exotic says, I will not have my brother's dream of petting baby monkeys die in vain.
Buddy,
so
there again, I get it.
I do too.
The whole thing is coming together. You've got this guy who grew up different in a place where that don't hit. It led to intense personal injury for him in the course of his rehabilitation from said injury. He gets introduced to how hard baby exotic animals hit, and then after that, his brother, who shared his baby exotic animal dream, tragically died at the hands of a drunk driver. And it's like, no wonder this all coalesced in this way for Joe Exotic, like it all fucking tracks, man. The origin story it's all there.
I was about to say, man, this is honestly kind of like Magneto.
Yeah.
So basically at this point, Joe decides he's going to go around to schools and talk to them about the dangers of drug and alcohol.
Damn, I forgot about this part.
I'm saying, while he was dressed up like a rodeo clown without the makeup. Now, he said at one point he's doing these shows and you see him doing it, and like legit, man, like he looks like Alan Jackson. He looks like Alan Jackson cosplaying as Garth Brooks with stage 4 leukemia. Like, I can't really explain to you. And like all that shit.
He looks like a drag queen whose whole theme is 90s country.
Yeah, yes, there you go. That's perfect. So he'd been doing his drug and alcohol show with all these animals, and I guess he just thought in his mind, he's like, God damn, I can't get the message over him. How do I reach these kids? So he decided to add magic to his show. He learned magic from a 12-year-old boy named J.P. Wilson, who can be shown being interviewed also holding a goddamn tiger on a bed.
Did you not think we was going to get more out of him?
Yeah, I did. I genuinely did, especially because he's holding a tiger on the bed. Like, if it just been like, hey, I'm JP and I was a 12-year-old boy and this guy came to me and said, teach me some magic tricks, it'd be one thing. But like, I look down and I'm like, you also have a tiger?
Yeah. No, I also thought when this happens, like, oh, this about to be a whole thing. And I'm very glad that it's not.
A 12-year-old boy in Oklahoma's parents let him hang out with a mulleted magician with a fringed leather purple jacket who went around, no doubt on meth, trying to tell kids not to do drugs.
Yeah,
you did leave out all the tigers.
Yeah, right.
They got a 12-year-old little, magician boy. And then here's this guy with all these tigers. I mean, hell.
They're also doing this show, and they're all packed into a goddamn one semi-truck with 14 people crammed into the cab of the semi-truck.
Lord, I bet it stank.
Oh, it stank. It should also be noted that this is where Joe Shrevogel decided to change his name officially to Joe Exotic.
It's a good change.
It's a good change.
Good change.
Wasn't it JP's idea to change his name?
If it was, I didn't write that down.
So it's either that or he stole it from him. It's either he gave him the idea or Joe Exotic, because the little boy had a name, he was like, oh, magicians got names.
I'm certain it was because I'm certain he fucking stole it. So it also, they're reported to, they're making between 10 and 40 grand a show, because at this point they're not just doing schools, they're at malls.
Yeah, right. Okay. So on this note, actually, this goes back to a thing we talked about earlier on this series that we're doing here about the South and how this reflects on the South and all this type of stuff. And I could just be totally off base because I had a very insulated experience up here in Clay County, Tennessee. But I was kind of shocked by this tour he went on of all these malls and how like they were packed, like people were coming out and stuff. Because like were y'all aware of that? I don't ever remember that in my recollection of.
We didn't have malls. We had donkey basketball. And buddy, I don't know when they're going to do that documentary, but I guarantee you there's murder afoot.
But I'm saying even at like Opry Mills and shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I don't remember that being a thing. But apparently and they showed the map, and it was, just going to put it out there, seemed to be mostly the Midwest to me.
Right.
So that they were touring around, but they had crowds at all these shows at malls and stuff, but it wasn't that ain't a Southern thing, right?
No.
They weren't.
Well, my thing with it was like, I remember at the mall when I was a kid, every now and then there would be like, you would see some people playing music or something, but they were always just like, they were just there while you were at the mall. They were doing a thing. Like, nobody was selling fucking tickets. Like, nobody was like, man, we got to get to the mall because there's a show.
Well, but okay. So I do recall being aware that they had shows at malls, but in my recollection, the shows at the mall were like long forgotten 80s pop stars or whatever. It's like, it's like Tiffany is going to be at the mall.
Right.
What I'm saying is, I don't recall ever it being a tiger show.
Right? No.
I don't remember that being a thing, but apparently that was fucking very much a thing for a while.
Yeah, and they were making a like literally they said at some points they were making $40,000 a show, which is where enter Susan Bass. Susan Bass is a PR lady that Carol Baskins hired to shut down all of Joe's magic shows by getting people to email and call the malls where he was performing at and complain, which worked. They had some sort of like big, huge campaign going that at first would generate like 500 emails. Then they got like some sort of subscriber list, and they're getting like 5,000 emails. Like all these malls are just getting flooded with these emails like, hey, don't let this dude put on the fucking tiger show. Don't hit. And I guess they were just like, all right, fine, don't hit. So, you know.
But, okay. But on that note, I'm saying, and I mean, I'm sure you probably agree with me. Like that was all originating from Carol Baskin, right?
Yes.
Okay. Like I get that it is different because, like you said, they got them all shoved in these tractor trailers and all this stuff and going around all these malls and shit. But I just can't get away from this notion of like the underlying subtext of all those emails is like it's immoral for you to go see these tigers at your mall in Nebraska.
Come
the
see 'em
only
in Tampa.
moral way to do it is to come to Big Cat Rescue in Tampa, Florida, where it's completely fine.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
I just felt like that was there the whole time, and their whole feud they had with each other the whole time. I was like, "Who you think you is, bitch?" Like I didn't understand.
Not only that, but like at least fucking when Joe's doing it, he's paying his employees and letting them like he's giving them.
Right.
Okay, I hear what you're about to say, Drew. He wasn't paying them all that much, but the ones that he was like, well, he's like $150 a week or something like that. He was letting them live there, and like I know that the living conditions didn't seem that good, but like that at some point was on Eric. Like his trailer didn't have to have fucking Fruity Pebbles all over the goddamn place. It didn't come so hot.
Eric didn't have much of a choice. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like they was hiring anywhere that he could go. But really what we're saying is, going back to the Doc Antle comparison, Carol is better at what she does than Joe is, because what they all do is exploit people in an attempt to have their own kingdom.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's the thing. If all these emails were being generated from some just random animal rights group in some random city, that it was just a collection of animal lovers who all had gotten together to say, "Hey, this is wrong." That's very, very different than them originating from the world's biggest big cat sanctuary that you can go and visit if you want to. It's like that just it makes it completely different in my opinion, and it don't hit.
It's also anybody could do. What am I trying to say? Not anybody. It depends on what. All right, there was a guy who wanted to be Trae's assistant for free. And it was like, you were like, I can't afford to pay you, dog. I can't let you do it for free because, like, I feel weird about that. And my point, like, there's ways to build up your life by exploiting other people that she absolutely was better at than Joe Exotic. But I'm not about to defend Joe Exotic because he did do that.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, meth ain't free. And neither is getting your butt fucked. So, at least some stuff was happening.
Well, getting your butt fucked, I mean, you got to give somebody meth that. Which, when we get into that later on, we need DJ because he told me explicitly, buddy, I've had some good goddamn meth. Not any would make me marry a man and let him fuck my butt for many years.
Again, you're leaving out the tigers.
So after Joe lost his means of making money by doing doing the shows at the mall, not wanting to be out of money for long, he came up with the idea to charge people to take tiger selfies to use on their dating profile, which became apparently a pretty big trend on Tinder, which is just fucking people with a goddamn tiger right beside their head. Also, side note, the GW Zoo apparently hits for Shaq. Because of course it does. Shaq shouted him out.
He was in that episode.
Yeah, he was in that episode. So
I think he bought a tiger from him.
He did.
Did I miss it? Like real quick, real slow. This is where I got my tiger.
Yes, that is a thing that Shaq
Yeah,
said.
no, dude, they showed a clip of Shaq like on Inside the NBA giving Joe Exotic a shout out because that's his tiger guide. That's where he got his tiger from. And since we're on this subject at this point, we talked earlier in our intro episode to this mini series we're doing about how white trash this is and about how like it reflecting on white people and all this stuff and whatever else. And look, all the people that are clearly like the insane ones at the center of the big cat world are clearly crazy ass white people. But like there's a lot of rap and basketball history, I feel like, to point to where it comes to tiger ownership. One of me and Corey's favorite rap songs, because it rules, is a song called Liger by Young Thug. And remember, Corey, when we first listened to it, I said to you in the chorus, Young Thug is like, everybody getting tigers, so I'm going to go get a liger, to be different. Remember I told you, I was like, man, everybody getting tigers? Everyone. Now? But apparently, everybody getting tigers in the rap world.
Mike Tyson had a tiger.
Mike Tyson had multiple tigers. So it's like, it's just tigers they just hit for people, Like
they do.
There's something about these fucking tigers, man. It was something about them. Everything about them.
So maybe it's I'm coming full circle on the poop parasites.
Yeah. Well, we were talking earlier about how a lot of this was analogous to gun control and gun rights. And, at least, I take care of my tigers. I'm a responsible tiger owner. And then I can't help but now as we're going forward in this documentary, this moment when this came up, I immediately thought of that the line in that Jim Jeffrey act about gun ownership where he goes, that's the thing about crazy people. They don't know they're crazy because now, completely bringing this all to a head and going to the other side of this, we have in Zanesville, Ohio in 2011, what we see is a sumbitch had it with all his monkeys and tigers and lions and bears, and he just let a shitload of baboons and all these things out, and then it resulted in the police having to what you can only describe as shoot the fuck out of all of them in a big-ass pile.
It was a tiger holocaust.
Yeah, it was definitely 100%. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Or as they describe it, they're talking about how so they start talking about this whole thing, and you can't blame the cops in this situation. This they had to do what they had to do. These fucking tigers get out. It's unprecedented. What had happened was this dude was legally allowed to have all these fucking animals. And then he was just like, fuck it. They show a picture of the dude and like, think about who would do this. That's what that guy looks like. And luckily nobody got hurt, but they had to just, mow down all these animals. It's really weird because when they show the picture of them, it's like the lions and the monkeys and the bears, and they're all in this one fucking like big pile together. And I'm like, did they like sweep them all over, or was they just all hanging out together? Like, fuck, where do we go? And then they just got.
They drug them over there to bury him. I bet.
Don't hit. So, anyways, all that happens. And then, of course, Joe Exotic is going to get interviewed about it. So he's interviewed because some people have said that he is a ticking time bomb that could actually be 10 times worse than what happened in Zanesville. And he responds, it is a ticking time bomb. If someone thinks they are going to walk in here and take my animals away, it's going to be Waco. So, again, gun control. From my cold, dead hands, this type of shit is going on. It's at this point we have Sheriff Rhodes of Garvin County who says that within a year of taking the job, Joe walked into his office and it's been nonstop ever since. As another thing I'd like to point out before we go forward, the documentary now cuts to Joe Exotic standing next to a four-wheeler during a literal fucking tornado while he's just sitting there going, just talking about how this don't hit. We got to go inside, but he's just filming himself by a tornado. And then then we cut to Joe screaming into a camera, if you're an animal rights activist and try to come in this facility, this is what you will be greeted with. And then they show Joe's then husband, John, shooting a pond several times with a shotgun.
Well, who among us hasn't shot a pond?
Right.
There's multiple shots from this show of people shooting a pond.
Yeah, it comes up a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, you know.
What'd that pond do? Yeah. It did look like a black pond. I'm sure Joe hated that. Well, I think that the thing about the tornado, they showed that obviously to show, fuck, he's in Tornado Alley. Like, he might not even snap and let his animals go.
Right.
They might just get out.
Yeah.
He don't care.
No. Because to him, it's, I have a fucking right to own these goddamn animals. This is my right as an American.
It's not like if a tornado hits my dad's house and sprays his 40 guns all over the county, they're going to, be going off in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, your analogy's good. Yeah, a kid might find one. Like, I get it. But also they're in a safe that probably would, not rip apart. My point is, your analogy's great, but like, it's crazier than guns somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It is. I'm just saying, like, it's making the same arguments. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, no. I know. That's what I was saying is, like, your analogy's perfect, but let's point out that this is crazier than guns, which is crazy. Like, people who have multiple AK-47s and they're like, come get it from me, boy. That's a crazy person. This dude's that, but about tigers. This is the first time I didn't forget about the tigers.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Dude, so not only that, like, I don't know if you remember that part where him and John Reinke, who we actually haven't talked about, John Reinke is he's one of the head fellers over there that's got he's got the two prosthetic legs, and like he'll let you know, like, oh no, this happened in a what was it, zip lining accident.
Yeah, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but yes, he says zip lining accident, and he shows a picture of it, and it's clearly.
I forgot about that.
Well, fuck all that. Even if it was, like, man, just that's not who you want for the face of the company. But like Joe and John have decided, like, once he makes all these Waco comments, and like they find out that the sheriff's like take it serious, these motherfuckers made a vow. Do you remember this part when they make a vow with each other that if shit ever goes bad, they're just gonna fucking shoot each other.
And they got the bullets with their names.
They wrote the bullets on their motherfucking names like they do in goddamn Peaky Blinders and shit like that. Like, motherfucker.
I did like him though.
I forgot that part, and that is insane. That's such an insane thing for people to do.
I did like that guy though.
Yeah, he is.
He was very much awesome. So after that, we got Joe, who is just now standing outside shooting his guns and waving them around at the cameraman. And then some shit explodes, and Joe yelled, "Fuck yeah!" And that just hit for me. I just wanted to put that. And I can't believe it's taken this long, but we're finally here. PETA finally shows up. PETA's here. With Brittany Pete, who is the captive animal law enforcement agent, which I'm certain is way too rad of a name for whatever queer bullshit she does.
But it's funny, PETA made that up.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
We got police.
Yeah, dude, they're a bunch of fucking idiots. And she's talking about how they've been targeting Joe for years. Joe has become increasingly paranoid. He's talking about how he has 24-hour armed guards and never isn't strapped himself. And back in Myrtle Beach, our man Doc Bagavon Antle talks about how he sleeps with a fucking loaded AK under his bed just in case some shit fucking pops off. Lunacy.
Yeah, well, apparently, dude, it's again. They're like these goddamn tigers. They're like guns and they're like drugs. And it's like if you have one, you got to have all of them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you got tigers, you're gonna need some meth, but also you're gonna need some guns around because you got fucking tigers. Like you can't have one without the other.
It makes me think that with all the people I've known in my life, and it's not been a lot, but it's been 5 or 6 who had a lot of guns and drugs. Apparently, I don't hit hard enough to know the people who get enough of those things where they require a tiger.
Where they then go to tiger. But they do.
They do.
I just remembered a drug dealer in college who had a bunch of fucking wild frogs and lizards. He was on his way to being a tiger man. He OD'd.
That's definitely that. I would say that lizards. I would say that lizards and frogs are like the weed to tigers.
Yeah, they're the gateway.
Yes. Yeah.
But man, it's insane. Like, I'm gonna have to apologize to fucking Bagavon Antle earlier when I was talking about how he was on some sort of like fucking ego trip, talking about how like, oh, they're all trying to get me, son. But like at this point, man, I mean, you know, PETA has come out and let it be known that's what's up. We got Joe Exotic, who's having to like literally he's having to call the cops on PETA agents who were there just like trying to check shit out. Which like it's amazing they didn't get fucking shot, I guess. At this point, Joe and Carol are both really, really getting heated on social media. Carol's actually putting up billboards and has set up an animal abuse 911 website. And Carol is on the radio. Carol's on the radio talking about how there was a 20-week-old tiger biting someone's leg at Joe's zoo. And then I'll be goddamn, they show the footage, and there certainly is a 20-week-old tiger just biting the absolute fuck out of somebody's leg at Joe's zoo.
Yeah, it turns out they do that.
Yeah, tigers. And that, as what Chris Rock said, that tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger. Carol at this point is asking the government to be a champion of the Big Cat Safety Act, which would end the ownership of big cats as pets and prohibit the public to have contact with them. And at this point, we see Carol's husband for the first motherfucking time. This dick tuck piece of shit that gets baby ointment rubbed in his fucking sore asshole every night.
Fucking bitch McConnell over here.
Dude, he does look like Mitch McConnell, but more of a bitch.
He does.
Dude, fuck that mother.
He looks like Orville Redenbacher, too.
No. Yeah. And before we get ahead of ourselves, I mean, we're about to, but I got to say it. Don't he look like he know what she did?
Like, yes. Right. Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
Like, I won't say what it is in case everybody's doing this episode by episode, but like that motherfucker sit there with his goddamn shirt tucked into his cargo pants, like waiting on his turn to talk. Waiting on his turn to talk. Like, buddy.
Well, we kind of
Beretta did that shit.
Beretta did.
We kind of, on that note, we kind of went on a backstory defense of Joe. I'll save it for when they get into Carol's backstory, but like, and not even a defense as much as just an explanation. Mm-hmm. Everything about her life in the past totally makes sense. That like now she's like, "No, I ain't having that."
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not going to disagree. I'm not going to disagree with that. So we've got Carol going in front of the government trying to get them to champion this bill. We've got her husband sitting there.
Were we still in episode 1?
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn.
Carol's husband shows up literally just to show a clip of Joe Exotic saying this about Carol. He says, for Carol and all of her friends that are watching out there, before you bring me down, it is my belief that you will stop breathing. It's an exact quote from Joe Exotic. And now this motherfucker in the same clip is talking about sending her snakes for her birthday. And then she goes to the mailbox one day and said that her mailbox, and I quote, exploded with snakes. Now,
snake explosion.
Now I'd like to stop here for a second, if I may. What I genuinely believe is that this woman, because I think Carol's a vindictive, smart person. Like, you know, like you couldn't do some of the things she's doing. I don't think Joe Exotic put snakes in her mailbox. I think that Joe Exotic threatened to put snakes in her mailbox, and she thought, oh, I have him on tape doing this. I'm going to go put snakes in my mailbox. You know what I'm saying? Or just say that there were snakes in my fucking mailbox. But it exploded. Joe then goes to the gun store to get 100 rounds of .223 caliber, which naturally the owner says, will that be it, or do you need explosives today? Joe says he's fine. Now we cut to him shooting his pond again. And then he shoots a dummy that had dynamite attached to it, and it exploded. He said, fuck yeah.
That was tannerite, which I just want to make that quick distinction between tannerite and dynamite because Joe's responsible as a gun owner, guys.
Yeah, that's true. Dynamite. That's true. So now we cut to 4 years later. It's 2019. We hear Joe making a collect call from the Grady County Jail. This is what he says. He says, I'm in a cage. Do you know why animals die in cages? It's because their soul dies. I'm not going to be accused and go to prison and lose everything I have for things that other people did. Before this is over, I'm going to shut everyone down. And that is the end of episode 1 in this insane fucking tiger saga.
It's a strong end. And I tell you, you had watched it before I did, and I was texting you when I was in episode 1. And I hadn't said yet that I was in episode 1, but I was just like, God damn, y'all wasn't kidding. This shit is crazy. And you were like, where you at? And I said, I'm at the end of episode 1. And you were like, you don't know shit, man. Boy, you was right. I did not know shit. That's what's crazy is like we just spent what feels like 2 hours talking about all the insanity in this first episode. And like, we are just getting started. Like it ain't even, this is nothing. It's nothing, motherfucker. It's nothing.
No, it's absolutely nothing. But that's where we are. Ending thoughts, Drew?
Buddy, the thing about talking about it, it almost feels like a tragedy that we've lived through because recapping it all has worn me out.
No, I hear you. Like, again, this feels like we've talked about a thing that should definitely be over.
not even getting started.
No, it's not even getting started. And if you like that, please share it with your friends and come back, or actually just keep going and check out Tiger by the Tail episode 2. This has been a recap of episode 1, Not Your Average Joe.
See you next time.
Escalators.
Well, Winwood, Oklahoma's where we meet our Tiger King. He's got them monkey chimps and tiger cubs, the cutest thing you've seen. He's got all his meth head buddies, and they're all working for free, serving cheap Totino's pizza covered in rotten Walmart meat. Then, of course, there's old Doc Antle. The Tigers made him rich. And don't forget about Carol Baskins. Man, we fucking hate that bitch. We got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail, we got a tiger by the tail, baby. Tiger by the tail.